It's on B, right? إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفر ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Alhamdulillah, we are here today in our Tajweed lesson. Tajweed always makes me happy, tabarakallah, alhamdulillah, because it is very beneficial, especially to people who have been starving to learn the Quran, the Book of Allah, and haven't been able to get access to and this is the benefit of a text. A text, Ya Ahmed, Whatever you study for years, the American people have been studying Tajweed, immigrants and non-immigrants. Everybody's American's an immigrant, but everybody's been studying Tajweed, and there's been a lack of teachers here in the States to teach Tajweed. So someone will come from overseas, because that was the only place you can get it. And still, that's the only place. You don't go overseas and study, you're not going to get it unless you find a teacher who came from overseas. So you're still learning it from overseas. They would come and he would start teaching us Tajweed, but he wouldn't use a text. Wouldn't use a classical work. So we would learn certain rules. And then that teacher would go away. And we had nothing to establish those rules and remember that type of qawaid, those principles. Another teacher would come a few months later or another year, and we'd have to start all over again. Because we couldn't state with any definity what we have learned. And that's the benefit of studying a classical work. It's the same work that the big shuyukh, we said big dogs, but we don't use dogs in Islam as that terminology. But the larger, more knowledgeable shuyukh, they've studied these same texts. And we're studying those same texts. Yes, at the level that we're doing them now, we're not doing them as detailed as we've had to study them to get ijazah, in those different subjects. But this is where it starts. When I was in Mauritania, we used to ask us Americans and Westerners in general, would ask all these deep questions about the text. And the Sheikh would slow us down. You wouldn't understand the answer, he said. That's not for a person at your level to ask. What you need to do is just learn the book first. And after you get familiar with the book, we'll go over it again and I'll really teach it to you. And that was the way it is. And that's what we're doing now. We don't have any of that veneer and that pomp and dog and pony show. But we have is a class. This is a classroom. And we're going to teach this text at a beginner level. And we're not going to miss it. Sometimes I listen to it and I make a verbal mistake or something. Hey, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything you hear, sometimes I may make a mistake. Jalla ma la yasu. Allah is the only one that's perfect. It doesn't mean that the majority of information that we're giving is correct. I'm just saying that because I do notice some things on tape. Sometimes I say, oh, that was incorrect. But not in the principles that I'm giving you. Okay? I'm talking about what we call al-khata al-badal al-khata. Like I said, I saw myself when I really meant I saw Makin. Something like that. Or I might say a ha or ha in the place of ha. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about. Not in the principles. The principles are solid. How do I know they're solid? Because they're from the classic. They ain't from me. Everybody understand it? So memorize the text, because that's what the ulama are going to judge you about. When you show up in front of some shuyukh, real shuyukh, they're going to ask you what your name is, right? And they're going to ask you next, what have you studied? You say you're a talab al-ilm, what have you studied thus far? And you better start mentioning some texts. And they better be classical texts. So that's what they're going to judge you on. Shalom. Not that you're doing it for judgment, but they know what your level is and they know how to deal with you. Okay? أقول قولي هذا ونبدأ. We are now in the chapter of Iqlab. We started off, we're at Bab, it's still in the same chapter, the first chapter of the book, which is Bab al-Nun al-Sakina with Tanween, the chapter of the Nun al-Sakina, and the Tanween. Right? Right? Yeah. I feel good. I feel great. I feel this way every day. Guys, wake up. Alhamdulillah. And get some movement. Inshallah. So, Nun al-Sakin wa Tanween, right? Yes. Wow, that wasn't much better. Astaghfirullah. Anyway, now we did Idhar. The first rule we did is what? Idhar. What are the letters of Idhar? No, it's not Hamza, it's Hamza. There's two H sounds. Ha and ha. Ha's from here. We say healthy. Say healthy. Say heavy. That's ha. And the other one is ha, like jalapeno. Don't never mind it's from a J. It's the sound that we're dealing with. Okay? So we're saying Hamza, Faha'u, Thumma Ainu, Ha'u. Muhmalatani mean they don't have anything on them. Thumma Ghainun, Kha'u. That's idhar. That's the first rule of Nun Sakina. What? Tanween. What's the second rule, Ahmed? Hesitation kills. The second rule is idgham. Idgham, not idgham. 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 And now idgham is what letters? Fi what word? Yarmaluna. Yarmaluna, which is ya, ra, mim, lam, waw, noon. What is it? Ya, ra, mim, lam, waw, noon. But idghamun is lakinnahu qismani. Qismun yudghama fihi bi gunnatin bi what? Bi yanmu. Here we have yanmu. And the other one is what? Bi ghayri gunna, lir. Okay? So we have yanmu. And we have lir, yarmaluna. So we have two things here. So we have idhar, which is one. We have idgham, which is two. A and B. A and B. Right? That's where we're at. Bi ghunna, yanmu, and bi ghayri ghunna. Without ghunna. Right? So here we put ghunna. The way they do it. No ghunna. Everybody got that? Now, we're at the next rule now. وَالثَّالِثُ الْإِقْلَابُ عِنْدَ الْبَاءِ. Say وَالثَّالِثُ. Afwan. وَالثَّالِثُ. My spelling is off. وَالثَّالِثُ إِقْلَابُ عِنْدَ الْبَاءِ. عند الباء نونا بغنة مع الإخفاء. So it says والثالث الإقلاب عند الباء نونا بغنة مع الإخفاء. So we learn a rule here. Here is, and the third rule. So we have two rules here for Nun Sakina wa Tanween. We have idhar, we have idgham. Idgham bi ghunna and idgham bi ghayri ghunna. All right? Now we have the third rule. The third rule is, and the third what? Third rule for Nun, as-sakina and Tanween. The third rule is iqlab, right? Iqlab is a word, means qalb. We have the word qalb. Everybody say qalb. It is your heart. But it's not exactly what qalb means. Qalb means tahweelu shay'an wajhi. To flip something off of his face, turn it inside out. That's why the heart is called qalb, because it flips. One day you like this, next thing you hate it. You know, that's how the heart flips like that. And also, what does it do? It takes, if you knew about medical terminology, you know the blood comes into the atrium and out the ventricle. So it comes in one way and pushes out the other way, comes in the other way and pushes back out the other way, right? Then goes into the aorta. So here the qalb is pushing and flipping, okay? Also, in this rule, it's called iqlab because it flips the script. It flips the noon بغنة ميم. How is it? ميما بغنة مع الإخفاء. I made a mistake. It's not noon, it's ميما. Afwan. I made a mistake here. Astaghfirullah. Memorization. ميما بغنة. I'm sorry. ميما. Subhanallah. ميما بغنة مع الإخفاء. Alhamdulillah. Again, that's why we memorize the text.